I have another question for you, and then Iggy, you can. Brian, for as a young adult, when you were making your way in your career, Brian is very successful. You lived in New York for a long time.
I did.
When you lived in New York, did you still feel like an Oaklander?
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, everywhere. I wore an A's hat. I wore a Warriors hat. I would go watch the games. And what was neat about New York in particular, especially when I lived there, I'm sure it's the same now. New York, especially Manhattan, is filled with lots of non-New Yorkers. And so the sports bars there are really fun because you get fans from all over the place as one, but it's a less hostile environment, right? Because you can go there and you can pull up in a sports bar and there'll be a corner of the A's fans, or there'll be a corner of the Warriors fans, and you can go sit over there and feel good about it. And there'll be a lot of good nature back and forth between other people. But what's not the same as like walking into a bar in Cleveland in the finals, for example, which I've also done.
You were in New York when the A's were playing the Yankees like every year in the playoffs, right? Those are pretty cool games. Yes.
Yeah, and I would go up to the Bronx and I would go to Yankee Stadium and I would, get into it a little bit sometimes with the fans, and they would be like, "You're not from Oakland, prove it." And I would just take out my driver's license, and then they would shut up.
And the thing about the East Oakland experience was it was not scary. It's never been scary going to an A's game. It's a lot of fun. And I went to UCLA and I took my wife now to a Dodger game thinking it would be a similar experience. It wasn't. Dodger games are terrifying. The bleachers are a scary place. The A's, what they have there in East Oakland is a little gem, and I don't think they've ever really appreciated what they had. All they need to do is knock down Mount Davis, and they have a nice stadium in a nice neighborhood.
Or build another one in the parking lot and knock that one down. I mean, either way, I'd be fine with that. I'd love for it to go back to having those bench bleachers in center field, but I don't think that's ever going to happen. I couldn't agree more with you, though, that teams tend to take this stuff for granted. And the first time I went to the Chase Center, I was kind of blown away by just how ordinary it is, how lack of a culture around the stadium it is, how just it's a bunch of gleaming glass. It looks like a promotion. It looks like a promotional video come to life, as opposed to like a city with people who are clamoring to support a team with passion.
Mm-hmm. Agree.
Yeah.
Agree.
Anyway,
what other topics do we have?
I think the last one I was going to talk about was KD. To me, KD is like an extension of all of this stuff. And
yes.
Oh, I love it. Okay.
Yeah. So look, I was pretty excited when the Warriors signed KD. Honestly, I want to win. I want the team to win. I was happy. I don't care. This sounds great. All this stuff, cupcake stuff was nonsense. That being said, what irked me and had me, kind of, I don't know if the word nervous, but how about suspicious the whole time? And they talk about this a lot in Warriors Twitter, which was the fact that KD just signed 1-year deal after 1-year deal. When you don't commit like that, and your foot is sort of only half here, it feels like it. It feels like it from the fans' perspective that you're only half here. And so, when people would go in there and, chant MVP for Steph Curry night after night after night and not for KD, even if it was subliminal or subconscious, that's the reason. That's one of the reasons why, is that KD always felt like a hired gun. And I think that in the modern, super max player kind of culture, that's not a very fan friendly kind of thing. Fans want to see, their superstars or acquire superstars, but they want them to stick around and they want a sense of commitment. I think, at least I really do. And so, when Draymond Green confronted KD, maybe to the detriment of the team, right? I loved it. I thought I was just fist pumping. I thought he was, saying it for me, because I knew that a big part of it was kind of his, the perceived or real lack of commitment. And I'm just, that's the way I look at, I'm coming back to Coda. I'm a fan, but I'm a little suspicious, a little cynical, and a little jaded, both in having, the reality of growing up around you guys, but also just my own kind of adult kind of view of sports in general.
Well, Draymond's a throwback athlete. Like, he's the kind of guy you would have grown up watching in the 70s and 80s and early 90s. And Kevin Durant is the modern athlete, the pampered guy who's been ticketed for stardom since he was 11. So it was really cool to see a throwback athlete just put it in his face. Like, who do you think you are?
Yeah.
You're a baby. Go away. I love that.
Me too.
You know, as I recall, he called him a bitch.
He did.
He say that on the show, but
He
I
did. Other players.
It's a quote. We're quoting him. So, yeah, he called him a bitch.
I
Yeah,
think he called him a bitch.
I think he called him a bitch.
I think it was little bitch.
Oh, yeah, that's worse.
Which is way worse.
Yeah,
And
especially when you're talking to a guy who's 6'11".
Yeah. And if on the playground when we were kids, that was a phrase that would be reserved for the gravest of circumstances.
You got to throw a punch if someone calls you a little bitch. If you don't throw a punch after someone calls you a little bitch, then you are a little bitch.
Yeah,
And he didn't throw a punch.
No, he didn't throw a punch. Well, it proved his point.
No, he walked away and said, "I'm out of here."
Okay, I got one more question for you, Brian. Now we have you. And this is, after all, a 49ers blog.
Right.
You've experienced many, many decades of 49ers.
Yeah.
Over the long haul, who are some of your favorite 49ers and why? And you've never met them like Iggy, but you've seen them and you've heard me talk about them.
Well, I met a few of them, but we don't have to get into that. That's okay. It was a long time ago. I mean, purely as a fan, Joe Montana. I mean, when I was a kid and watching Joe Montana, I felt like you have to remember, every time they went to the Super Bowl, they won, right? With Joe.
That's right.
So they were good enough. I remember even saying this at the time, like if they were good enough to go, they were good enough to win. And I felt that when Joe was under center, that there was always the chance that magic was going to happen. There's been nobody since Joe Montana that in that regard. That being said, Steve Young, as a contrast, he was just a little bit more unpredictable. I mean, it was always just as exciting, but you didn't necessarily go, okay, he's definitely going to win the Super Bowl. Right. But some crazy stuff is going to happen, and I'm going to eat it up. So I would say for sure those two guys. But I loved Ronnie Lott. Just watching him smash fools, that was just the best. And all of the lore that went around with the finger and that kind of smash mouth attitude was unbelievable. And so then, in later years, I've appreciated other players, but I don't know if those guys were just as the more modern guys are just have the same kind of toughness or chutzpah that those guys had. And it's a different time, it's different conditions, and I'm glad they're being taken care of more, and maybe there's a little bit more emphasis on athleticism than there was just on pure grit and toughness. But Kittles is a fun guy to watch. Gotta love.
There's something to be said for Kittles. For
sure.
Yeah.
And Shanahan's. I like both those guys a lot.
Yeah, but they're no Ronnie Lott.
No, definitely not a Ronnie Lott or a Joe Montana.
And it's funny, Brian, have you ever met Ronnie?
Yeah, we met. I met Ronnie. You introduced me to Ronnie, and you introduced me to Rathman. And
Rathman.
Yeah, and then I met Bill too, down in Florida.
Right, you met him in Florida. You were on the bus with us, and you met Fred Van Appen, and you met Bill.
Right.
You rode on the bus with us.
That's right.
That's right. And
you met Bill. I never met Bill.
That's a true story.
Mom met Bill. She was so nervous because he was a superstar. Yes, you did meet Bill.
I did.
I want to say about Ronnie. Ronnie was an incredibly hard hitter, and people were afraid to go near him on the field. But when you meet Ronnie, he's very soft-spoken.
Yeah.
He's a typical defensive back, soft-spoken, sensitive,
right,
affectionate, all of those things.
He has a split personality, right?
Yeah.
They all do. The defensive backs have split personalities, definitely.
He was so nice to me. Like you said, soft-spoken, cordial, looked me in the eye, handed me his massive hand to shake.
He's a wonderful, wonderful guy. When I see Ronnie now, we actually hug each other. I mean, I'm not covering him anymore. And we were through those years together, and we appreciate each other for that. And because he's a great guy. Well, I was going to say, thank you, Brian.
My pleasure.
This was great.
Everybody's got to meet Grant's older brother.
Yeah. Thrilled to be here, guys.
Best friend. They're each other's best friend.
This was great.
I want to say, in addition to that, I love you both, but I'm such a huge fan I think what's going on here is just amazing, and I can't wait to see what's next.
Okay.
Love you too, Bri.
All right,
Love
guys.
you too, Brian. We'll talk to you later today.
Take care. We'll see you.
Okay.
Bye.